Forgotten Realms, the ones actually creating spacefaring vessels and actually having somewhat of a presence in space, are what we call the Shao in Shaolong. This is the map of Tortle, where 5th edition D&D is set. All adventures are set in this tiny speck of land over here. Well, this here is Karatur, the Empire of the East. This here is ruled by the Shaolong Empire, and they are the only ones really in Tortle who have a dedicated space presence. Other than them, the elves of Evermeet have a couple of ships that can fly to space, but that's basically it. If you want to land on a planet, generally speaking, you take off the Spelljammer helm and then land mundanely with other magical ways, lest you actually risk getting robbed and being stranded. Most groundlings don't really care about what's happening in space, and most spacefarers don't care about what's going on the ground, so the two barely ever make contact with one another. In any case, elvish ships look mostly like butterflies, like the very common flitter design and the elvish man of war. There is a strict policy between elvish spacefarers that nobody's actually allowed to mess with the delicate and standard designs of their ships, which is why they all look the same. Unlike the humans, who don't really have a particular allegiance to any one group, elves are actually extremely well organized and possess currently the strongest fleet in known space across the crystal spheres. Another race that uses the standard Spelljammer helms are the Lizardfolk, though these are a little bit different from the brutish ones that you're probably accustomed to from down on the planets. See, Lizardfolk are like Superman. They actually get energy from the sun, so those in space are much more intelligent than the ones on the swamp down below. We will have a video about them eventually, but their ships are flavored to them, with the popular Wasp being the most common Lizardfolk vessel seen in space. The entire lower decks of the ship are flooded with water for use by the lizardmen to sleep, or to keep their mascots like their schools of fish or sharks. And lastly, we have the gnomes. There is no specific design when it comes to gnome ships because every single one of them is unique. See, Tinker Gnomes can't ever help themselves from modifying any ship that they get their hands on, adding more and more modifications over time, trying to solve problems that maybe never really existed in the first place. Generally speaking, when they solve a problem with an invention, that invention will create a new problem which will require another invention to solve, and so on and so forth. The end result is a mad construction of gears and valves and vents that nobody but the gnomes would actually be able to understand. We might do a video on each of the races and how they behave in space if you guys actually do enjoy these videos, because there really is a lot, and we would have to do a video on each specific race. But anyways, all of these that we just talked about are races that can use the spell-jamming helms without a problem. There are, however, other races that are not quite as blessed with the ability to wield magic this freely, and for those races, the Mysterious Arcane have developed different ways of space travel. Because Mind Flayers don't traditionally have access to magic, they use a special helm called the Series Helm, which looks like a collection of 2 to 5 minor helms connected together. The helm uses their psionic power to fuel the artifact in order to move the ship. The more Mind Flayers connected to the series, the faster the ship will go. The weakness of this system is that if a Mind Flayer dies while connected to the series, then the other connected Illithid have a chance of automatically dying as well, as they're all mind connected together. The other weakness is that this type of helm can only support ships of up to 50 tons. Now, the most popular and by far the most common ship used by the Illithid is what they call the Nautiloid. The coiled shell of the ship provides comfort to the Mind Flayers by protecting them from the rays of the various suns, since Mind Flayers actually hate the light. They are not harmed by it, like the Drow, but it does irritate them. Now, on the other hand, a new system has been recently developed for the Illithid, which has sparked a lot of speculation and worry. They call these pool helms. They use the natural life pool of the Mind Flayers to power the artifact. They are exorbitantly expensive and of course delicate, because brine pools are the reproductive method of the Illithid, but when in use by this pool, it is believed that they can fuel a ship of up to 200 tons. So literal motherships could be fueled with this system. The few that have ever been seen with this new system were used to transport the Illithid Great Old Ones. The Beholders are really interesting with their designs. Much like there are many different kinds of Beholders and subspecies of Beholders, it appears that they have created an odd inbred kind that's called an Orbus, a blind Beholder with milky skin over all of their eyes. They are described as pale and practically helpless on their own, bred with a single purpose, to serve and use their energy to power the ship. A single Orbis can power a ship of up to 20 tons, 2 Orbises for 40, and a limit of 3 Orbises for a ship of 60 tons. Given how simple this method is, it is believed that other races could actually use an Orbis to maneuver a ship, but the beholders guard them carefully, and would rather disintegrate them than see them turned over to the other races. If, however, a beholder was to sell an Orbis, they wouldn't take anything less than 300,000 gold pieces, or at least that's what the Orbis would sell on the black market. Their ships tend to be creepy and unique as well, which reflect the very unique personality of the beholders that pilot it. Beholders think that they are the pinnacle of beholder kind, and any beholder that looks different from them must be eliminated and destroyed. This is why in space the beholder's civil war is like the biggest source of conflict that you will tend to see. Beholder on beholder action. Each type of beholder will have their own unique style of ship, and the mysterious arcane who built these ships for them take great care to make sure that each ship complements the type of beholder that it belongs to, because any mixture would actually enrage them greatly. What's also interesting about space is that the cultures of many creatures and monsters are actually different than those on the ground. Beholders are too busy fighting the Great Beholder Civil Wars to really fight any humans or dwarves. Mind flayers are still as deadly as ever, but their mode of hunting and seeking knowledge has somewhat shifted to explore and seek knowledge. Now, they still seek slaves and are still very much evil, but they don't mount full-scale wars against outposts as much as they would back on the underground in the Underdark. You see them in towns and in outposts trading often. They understand that they must deal with civilization in order to find the truth of their existence. I guess what I'm trying to say is they're not quite as aggressive as you would imagine. Now, the goblinoids in space were obliterated by the elves in the last Great War, which is why you don't really see goblins or orc ships anymore. In their stead, however, what you have is one massive common enemy, the Neogi. When you see a Neogi death spider, you either run or you attack. There is no in between. This is their main vessel, and to give you perspective, this is 100 tons. This is a mothership. Nobody knows where their homeland is, but they only have one desire, and that is to enslave all the worlds. We can do a video about them as well eventually. Lastly, to finish up the video, we have the dwarves. Most dwarves don't tend to magic, and because of that, they have developed their own and unique type of space travel, which they call forges. Quote, "The basic idea of the forge is the same as the Spelljammer Helm, the conversion of energy into movement. In the dwarves' case, the energy is not magical as much as it is creative. By building items within the forges, the dwarves generate the energy necessary to literally move mountains across the sky." End quote. Essentially, dwarves find a massive asteroid of at least 100 tons and at most 700 tons, and then build or move in a magical forge inside. Then they mine the asteroid and create tools and objects with the mineral ore. The creative process of creation fuels the magic of the forge and moves the asteroid. To the dwarves, this is no ship, but a home. Now, the positive effect is that they can actually control entire fortresses with this technology, as well as they can get to create beautiful works of art and craftsmanship that they can actually sell in outposts. The negatives are that the asteroid will eventually be spent, having been mined of all of its ore. When that happens, the dwarves simply find a different asteroid and move in, leaving the previous mountain derelict and empty in space. Many monsters, dragons, and bandits use the abandoned dwarven mountains as lairs. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Man, it feels weird not to go too in-depth on a topic. I'm kind of used to just doing single videos covering everything there is to cover about a topic, but I'm really trying to go as basic as I can to just cover the most possible about space before we start going in depth. So tell me what you guys think. Tell me how you're liking the videos, and if you want to obviously hear more about this. Next video we're going to be covering the phlogiston and the actual spheres themselves, the shells, and I think we're going to actually go in depth on those. Might be like a 20-minute video or something like that, just talking about those topics. But yeah, I would like to thank my Patreon supporters, Zach Bowell, Rukato Fan, Barry Maskant, 5E Magic Shop, Daniel Umar, Dr. Cowbell, Rusty Rain, Morgan Johnson, Skitzer Boy, Biotechnofrag, Daniel Luna, Kush Bain, Doug Feeder, Brad Salazar, The Great Codini, Elisa Rossell, Major Fail Gaming, Terry Culp, Morgan McCormick, and Mediocre at Best for supporting me on Patreon at the $25 level. If you would like to support me as well, then please head on over to patreon.com/Mr. Rex to support. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.
I found a woman's body down the hill with a letter on it.
This letter, Velena is dead. But we were meant to be together.
Possible,
The
but
Maker would not keep us apart. What am I supposed to do now?
The Inquisition needs men who believe as strongly as you do. Come and help us restore order.
Yes. If waiting here in the hills leaves innocents to die, then I will bring the Maker's word by the sword. My men and I will lend our strength to the Inquisition. Thank you.
So Ken Starr is still trying to defend himself. Honestly, just wow. I'm reading the subtitles right now, and it doesn't look good. Like, he's literally trying to do something stupid.
Templar deserters!
Looks like someone was having a picnic.
Yes. The mage must have been hunting for blood magic.
This is a mage.
Eldreda, yes. I think that was her name. At least I'd heard other apostates call her that. The Templars attacked the apostate. I suppose I just got caught in the middle.
Ritz.
So, the truth. I may have been, passing time with Eldreda.
I suppose I understand.
You were trying to find a moment's peace in the midst of this war.
Wait. Yes. At first, she was just a mage who saw me and didn't attack, but later we... So, are you going to report me?
Varric.
Look, kid, if you can talk an apostate out of her pants in the middle of a war, you've got a gift. Use it. Make contacts, get information, and help the Inquisition. Do that, and our lips are sealed.
All right. I can do that. And thanks for going easy on me.
Imagine a world before snap-to-enemy combat systems. A world where chest-high walls litter every game environment and people still play Rock Band. Imagine a world where every game isn't trying to be Dark Souls. Things have changed a lot in the last 10 years, and as we enter a new decade, it's a perfect time to look back and reminisce about our favorite games and music from the last one. Today I want to talk about a handful of musical moments from the last decade that stood out to me. Not soundtracks, not even necessarily tunes, but specific moments in game music that I still think about today. There was a lot to choose from, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, so try not to get annoyed when I leave off your favorite game score. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Snipperclips had the most slept-on soundtrack of the 2010s, and I can prove it. On the surface, the music seems innocuously cheery, but turn a closer ear and you'll find that composer Callum Bowen was pulling out all the stops when writing the music for the soundtrack. In Noisy Notebook C, a delightfully catchy melody and jovial oompa rhythm set the stage for a series of bizarre modulations and harmonic curves. The singable, catchy melody effortlessly sweeps us from the key of E flat to the key of B by taking this earlier melodic figure and transforming it to spell out a very clear 2-5 leading right to our new tonic B major chord.
Very deceptive. But yeah, I see it.
Continue on in a similarly cheerful fashion for a while before the same melodic move is used to modulate us from the key of B down to the key of G. Wait a minute. E flat to B to G? That's right, folks. Snipperclips just took us through the Coltrane Matrix. The Coltrane Matrix is a harmonic sequence that modulates between three keys a major third apart in quick succession, most famously used as the basis for the jazz classic Giant Steps. The fun doesn't stop there. Once in G, we get one of the sickest builds I've ever heard in my life. This B and D, the third and fifth of the underlying G chord, each rise up chromatically bar by bar until they land on D and F, creating a G, C minor over G, C sharp diminished over G progression that leads us up to a G7. This G7 sets up yet another modulation to the key of C, and it feels so satisfying once we finally get there. By the time this tune is through, we have successfully made it through 6 different key changes in the span of 65 bars, with another key change to loop us back to the start of the piece. I have never seen John Coltrane's Giant Steps progression expressed with such cartoonish color, such joie de vivre, and that makes this one of the best musical moments of the last decade. For me, the standout piece from Shovel Knight's phenomenal soundtrack was the heart-wrenching Requiem of Shield Knight, but if I had to pick one musical moment, it would have to be this bar of the Starlit Wilds. The theme that plays during each campfire scene in the game is a rearrangement of the Requiem of Shield Knight to be in a major key, turning the very minor D, B minor, F sharp minor progression into a D, B minor, F sharp major progression. This surprising major tonic gets me absolutely hyped every time I hear it, but not only that, it also features the flat sixth alongside the major triad, making it an extremely rare example of a harmonic major chord.
All supplies for recruit Whittle.
It's hard to describe exactly what this D natural note does to the chord. It's set up well by the D and B minor chords that came before it, and it's not used
somewhere
in a
where I've already
dissonant
been
way or anything, but the color it brings to this F sharp major chord adds so much depth. It's not quite a bittersweet feeling, it feels more like the sense of, you may have won this round, but you're not out of the woods yet. This chord has stuck with me all the way until now, earning its spot as one of the best musical moments of the last decade. L.A. Noir's soundtrack has aged much more gracefully than the game surrounding it, conjuring up a smoky, neo-noir aesthetic that gives every scene of the game a sense of gravity and intrigue. The track New Beginnings Part 1 is based off of one main musical idea, an A7 sus chord played by brass ensemble, gradually crescendoing into an E minor 11 chord. These chords are both colorful on their own. I especially love how the E minor 11 is voiced as a D major triad over top of an E minor chord. But what really sells each resolution to E minor is the huge dramatic crescendo up to it, with the increasing rhythmic speed of this triplet figure rolling into a huge release. This piece is great, but the musical moment I want to specifically highlight comes at the very end. After a minute of setting up our expectations for a resolution to E minor, the very last A sus crescendo pulls the rug out from under our feet by moving to an unexpected D minor major 9 chord. This resolution hits so hard. The chord quality fits perfectly with the game's film noir style, and the sudden drop from the key of E minor to D minor feels like a downward spiral into darkness, a foreboding omen for the story of our detective Cole Phelps. Okay, so this one might be cheating since it's a remake of a piece from 1992, but Mario Kart 8's arrangement of Donut Plains 3 just puts a big stupid smile on my face every time I hear it. I love the organ. I love the surprise move to F major from E flat. And I love these sick bebop lines that just come in out of nowhere. But if I had to narrow it down, my favorite part of the whole piece is the harmonized organ melody right near the beginning. The way these perfect fifths chromatically scoop up to the 3rd and 7th of the underlying A flat major 7 chord just kills me. And then the split off in 2 different directions, with the bottom line walking up to the next bar's melody note while the top line approaches it from the semitone above. Tasty! The combination of these two notes gives the underlying B-flat 7 chord a B-flat 15 flat 9 sound. You may recognize this juicy dominant vocal from the very beginning of this video. Not a conscious theft, but it's really right there. Hotline Miami is one of those games that's remembered just as much for its soundtrack as for every other part of its design, proving that Dashing Gangsters Heads In and Scat 80's Big Beats go together like peanut butter and jelly. Which is why it's so interesting that the game cuts the music the second each level is finished, forcing the player to backtrack through their trail of destruction to ambient wind blowers and the dial-tone drone. Maybe it's not so much a musical moment as a sound effect, but the way the music is suddenly sucked away really draws attention to itself. It creates this sharp divide between the exhilarating hyperviolence of the gameplay and the sickening results that get left behind. For a game that's all about examining how we view violence in video games, this sound design decision is a perfect way to deliver the message the developers were trying to convey, which definitely makes it one of the best music elements of the decade. There are plenty of moments in Breath of the Wild that give a big purple nurple to my nostalgia nipples, with classic melodies from past games coming back in completely new forms for Rito Village, the Stables, Hyrule Castle, and plenty of other places scattered all over the gigantic world map. To pick out a single moment, though, I'd have to go with the one that I think best exemplifies the compositional attitude of Breath of the Wild's soundtrack, the key that hits you just as you approach the dilapidated Temple of Time. These 10 bars are like a masterclass of modern jazz reharmonization all on their own, putting the instantly recognizable Temple of Time theme from Ocarina of Time in the completely new, sparse style of the Breath of the Wild score. The original melody used the sound of the Dorian mode to evoke the style of a Gregorian chant. The main melodic motif of a leap down of a fifth followed by 2 leaps upward of a third outlines a third minor triad, which is followed by a line of figure emphasizing the raised sixth of the D Dorian scale before resolving back to our tonic. There's no harmony in the original Temple of Time theme, but the D Dorian sound is inescapable. Right off the bat, the Breath of the Wild version completely changes the tone by harmonizing the first 2 notes as a D major 6/9 chord. The way this chord is voiced as a stack of fourths coming down from the tonic is a typical jazz piano voicing for a major chord and gives off a very striking sound. The following 4 notes, which clearly outline a D minor triad, are harmonized as a colorful G minor 9 chord. See the clashing notes between these first 2 chords. The D major chord had an F sharp and B natural, while the following G minor uses an F natural and B flat for a dramatic color shift. You'll notice that every chord in this reharm has at least 1 note that clashes with the chord before or after it, a relatively common approach to modern jazz reharmonization. The following phrase shows us another common jazz piano technique, chord planing. These 3 melody notes are each harmonized as the major 7th of a major 7 chord, giving us a B flat major 7 to C major 7 to A flat major 7 progression. This A-flat jumps back to our original 4th-based D major sound before ending off on a dominant sharp 11 chord, which honestly is the most jazz thing you could do.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I really wanted to watch the impeachment trial, but none of the Republican lawyers are willing to actually admit what just happened today.
Shifting tonalities to the original's Gregorian chant style is kind of mind-boggling, which is why I just couldn't leave this tune off of this list. Looking back at just how much has changed in the last 10 years of gaming makes me so excited to see what is coming for the next decade. And I can't wait to share these new musical moments with you guys as we move forward into 2020 and beyond. Obviously, there are like 2 million great musical moments that I didn't mention here, so please feel free to post your favorites from the last 10 years of gaming in the comments below. And if you find yourself in the Minneapolis area between March 6th and 8th, you gotta come check out VGM Con. I'll be presenting a few panels there talking about analyzing music and the different ways that can help you grow as a composer or musician. There are going to be a ton of other super cool guests and great musicians there too. Last year was my first time going and I had so much fun. I am so excited for this year. Anyways, you can find me on Twitter at 8BitMusicTheory, and if you want to support what I do, consider checking out my Patreon page here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Okay.
It's interesting here. 2 questions I think we're trying to figure out. 1, how much has the unpublished Bolton manuscript had an impact on the president's defense strategy from before? And 2, do the overnight revelations change their tactics for today?
It's dangerous
And
out
I
here
would add
for
a third
everyone.
one to that, Chuck, which is
glad the
questions
Inquisition
about
is
what the
trying to
White
put
House
things right.
counsel's office, what the president's defense team knew, and when they knew it about the allegations that are being made in this manuscript from John Bolton. Right, and the book itself, right. And so I think that you can split it up into a couple of pieces here. What we have seen so far from the president's defense team is an insistence on sort of following the strategy that they had laid out from the very beginning. From weeks ago when we were in conversations with our sources there about telling and making this argument that the president, no matter what happened, right, this does not meet the constitutional threshold for impeachment. I don't think, Chuck, based on what I understand from the defense team, that is going to change dramatically today. Because think about who they're going to be putting on not on the stand, but up there in front of the senators on the floor there, Alan Dershowitz and Starr, to make the argument that this isn't impeachable based on the Constitution, and that is why you cannot remove him. Now, that said, you and I have talked a lot about this, the potential for some kind of a game changer, right? Because up until, I think, literally 24 hours ago, the Republicans and the White House knew this, likely were not going to get enough senators over the line to vote on this. This is one of those things, those X-factor moments that could potentially change that calculus. That said, it does not seem clear at this point whether it's going to change the calculus or whether it will change the calculus. So we ultimately need to remove the president, which is sort of the final end game here, right? And acquit. I think there is still a sense of confidence that the president is going to be acquitted. It just may take longer than expected given this Bolton news. And I will tell you this, there is a full court press this morning working to discredit the president's former national security advisor. There's all sorts of discussion about, well, he's trying to sell a book, he's just out to make a bunch of money. The president's forceful denials overnight and this morning, Chuck, may end up giving some of those Republican senators a little cover to say, well, look, I haven't seen the I haven't seen the reporting, but the president says he didn't do it, and that may be one of the lines that you see over on the Hill today.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
Templar bastards killed my husband and stole the ring from his finger. They deserve to die.
You're saying the Templars attacked your husband?
Aye. He was digging out a stump. The fools couldn't tell a shovel from a mage's staff. Had to be safe.
Congressman Lofgren, thank you for joining. So let me ask this. When the president's team finishes their legal argument,
farewell.
What is your team's next legal maneuver here to try to compel either Bolton's testimony or maybe to a lesser extent simply maybe it's the subpoenaing of the Bolton manuscript itself?
Well, I'm sure you don't expect me to go through the tactical decisions being made by the manager's team. But here's the point. When I heard the New York Times report, I said, yikes. Wow. This Bolton is saying that he directly spoke to the president and is willing to testify that the president did exactly what is the gist of the article of impeachment. That's stunning. That's a game changer. And, you know, we have evidence proving the case through, you know, for example, at the meeting when Bolton said it was a drug deal. Well, we have fact witnesses. Hill was there, Vindman was there, Sondland was there. But to have Bolton himself testify